Good to be with all of you. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Whether you're listening to us on those platforms, iHeartRadio, or whether you are watching us on our Twitch channel, Jason Page 77, on our YouTube channel, Decibel 88, the same on Facebook, or on Twitter at The Back Page. We got a busy show ahead. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show. Do so at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter, at The Back Page, if you want to get at me during this first hour of the program. We will focus our attention on the NBA in 33 minutes. Brendan Scoop Robinson, NBA analyst over at Bally Sports, will join us, get some thoughts with him on some myriad of things going on around the NBA. We don't usually talk a ton of NBA early in the year, but there's a lot of storylines right now to get into. Way more than usual. So we'll get into that. The NFL live betting game of the night is, of course, Monday Night Football. We'll let you know what's going on between the Bengals and the Browns. Browns lead 18-0 in the third quarter, 7:27 to go. Bengals just allowing their first touchdown in the second half of any game this year. Seems nuts, right? But it's true. And coming up in a couple of minutes, 5 definitive statements on the NFL. After all but one game here in Week 8. We love to keep you up to date on the live betting, and right now it's the Bengals plus 1,060 on the money line, trailing 18-0 with 7:27 to go in the third quarter. You're not hearing me incorrectly. They have not scored a point in Cleveland against the Browns. Myles Garrett is just a beast. I don't know how the Browns aren't better. I really don't. We'll come back. 5 definitive statements on the NFL. That's next on the Cash In. I'm Jason Page. Good to have you with us tonight on SportsMap Radio. Oh, boy. Just when you thought Cincinnati was starting to put it together, you watch tonight and realize they are not putting it together at all. I mean, missing Jamar Chase is just brutal for them. I mean, you're finding out how valuable he is to that offense right now. I still can't figure out how Cleveland's 2-5. I know they've lost a ton of close games this year. I mean, Cleveland, let's see, they've lost 31-30, 23-20, 30-28, and 23-20. That's 4 of their 5 losses this year. It's just... Are you a Browns fan? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a Browns fan. That's crazy. I didn't realize that 4 of their 5 losses were by a combined 8 points, I think. I mean, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, the ending to that game was crazy. It was bonkers. The shit is bananas. By the way, World Series Game 3. Phillies at home for the Astros. Well, not tonight. I mean, they're home, but they're in their hotel rooms or at their actual homes because there is no baseball tonight. Rained out. They'll play Game 3 on Tuesday. Everything will get pushed back a day, including the travel day, which there will still be one. There will still be a travel day. Major League Baseball not wanting to chance it. Steady rain in the Philadelphia area, so that's what you get. By the way, not only is it 18-0 Browns, but they're on the doorstep again and about to put in another one. Did Cincinnati turn it over? I turned my head for 1 second, and I think Cincinnati may have turned it over. Austin Rodriguez, by the way, is our producer-engineer in Houston tonight. I just learned this about Austin. I've been working with him for 2 months. I did not know he was a Cleveland Browns fan. Austin tonight has shared that information. He's like trying to get water out of a stone. I can never get anything out of him. Tonight he has informed me he is a Cleveland Browns fan, so undoubtedly a smile on his face for our producer-engineer Austin tonight with Cleveland leading Cincinnati 18-0 and about to potentially make it 24 and 25 and put this game away. I mean, really, let's be honest. I mean, if they get this thing to 25, it's game over. I will give you some live betting advice now. I was going to hold it till next segment, but I don't think we can hold back on this because I think this is great information. Take Cincinnati plus 20.5 right now. Cincinnati right now on the live betting is plus 20.5. I don't care if the Browns score here. There's no way that Cincinnati isn't going to score one touchdown in this game. There's going to be a garbage touchdown somewhere from Cincinnati in this game. Now it's going to be 4 downs every time they're past Cleveland's end of the field. By the way, Cleveland touchdown now 25-0 with 3:10 to go in the third quarter. Take Cincinnati plus 20.5. I promise you will not regret it. My live betting tip of the night, we will officially keep an eye on it. 3:10 to go, third quarter. Browns lead the Bengals 25-0. We'll keep tabs on it, as I said. The phone number, 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And as always, you can tweet at the show at the back page. 5 definitive statements on the NFL to begin the program tonight. 1, the Jets are not a good football team. I said this last week. I was not a buyer. After this week, I am more convinced than ever. The Jets are not a good football team. They are a fraud at 5-3. More than any team in the league, they are a fraud. This is not a good football team. They are improved. I think they're going in the right direction. But you can't win football games with Zach Wilson making the kinds of decisions he made yesterday. That game was there for the Jets to take. New England is an average football team. You were at home. You are the Jets. You cannot lose that game. Bill Belichick is your poppy. He proves it time and time again. You are not a good football team, Jets. Jets will not make the playoffs. I'm telling you right now, they're 5-3. They will not make the playoffs. And I'd be surprised if it was even close. What do the Jets have left on the schedule? Shall we? Just to prove my point here. Bills are next, 5-4. At the Patriots, I give them no chance to beat Bill Belichick because he owns the Jets, 5-5. Home for the Bears, toss up. Let's just be nice, give them a win, 6-5. At the Vikings, 6-6. At the Bills, 6-7. Home for the Lions, 7-7. Home for the Jaguars, you want to say they win both those games? I won't. I'll say 7-8. At the Seahawks, 7-9. At the Dolphins, 7-10. At best, they're an 8-9 team. They're not making the playoffs. They're not a good football team. Case closed. Jet fans will be sorely disappointed at the end of the season. I promise you. Because they always are. The Jets and Mets. Put them together. 2 peas pod. You get it. The NFC East, definitive statement number 2. The NFC East is the best division in football. It's not even close. Go and look what the NFC East has done so far. The Commanders, who are not a very good football team, they're an average team at best. They're 4-4. I mean, this is no joke right now. You could legitimately have all 4 teams in the NFC East make the playoffs. I don't know if it'll happen because there's going to be some sort of attrition here where they beat each other up. So I'd be surprised if it happened. There's still a number of games to be played between division opponents and all that stuff. So the odds are mathematically very difficult. But right now, right this second, Philadelphia, the Cowboys, the Giants, Commanders, they're all playoff teams. I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. The Falcons are in there as well. I mean, but the NFC East, it's not even close. Best division in football. Eagles 7-0, Cowboys 6-2, Giants 6-2, and the Commanders at 4-4. Best division in football. Case closed. We could shut the door on that. We all laugh. We call it the NFC least. If we're going to do that every year, if we're going to bang on the NFC East when it stinks, and it has stunk for a while, we have to call it the best division in football. You have to. Otherwise, you have zero credibility. You want to argue with me that the AFC East is just as good? No, it's not, because the Jets are frauds. And the Patriots at 4-4, as we saw last week with what they did against the Bears in primetime, they're not that good either. Bills and Dolphins are the only 2 good teams in that division. There's 3 legitimately good teams in the NFC East. That's definitive statement number 2. Number 3, at the midway point of the season, Geno Smith is a legit MVP candidate. This is definitive at this point. This is no longer in question. We kind of joked around with it after week 3 or week 4. Remember, we had Jen Mueller on, our buddy from Root Sports in Seattle, and everybody's kind of like, pump the brakes. It's kind of cute. Now it's serious. I mean, he leads the league in completion percentage. The numbers don't lie. He's got 13 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's on pace to throw 26, 27 touchdowns to 6 or maybe 7 interceptions. He's 4th in the league in QBR. He's thrown for almost 2,000 yards. He would have had another touchdown yesterday if Tyler Lockett didn't have Butterfingers. Gotta get Halloween reference. Butterfingers. Yeah, good. I mean, is there any question right now? I know it's Mahomes and Josh Allen, and they do some amazing things. Geno Smith has got to be in the conversation right now as an MVP candidate. Definitive statement number 4. The Atlanta Falcons, this might be the one that gets the most attention. The Atlanta Falcons are going to win the NFC South. We are halfway through the season, 1 game short, half a game short. The Atlanta Falcons, say it with me now, they are going to win the NFC South. They are 4-4 right now. They are a game clear of Tampa Bay and New Orleans. New Orleans, who played out of their minds yesterday, shut down the Raiders, who looked terrible. Josh McDaniel on his way to being a one and done, especially when you consider that Mark Davis is the owner of that team. But Atlanta at 4-4, they could easily be 5-3 right now if they can get screwed late in that game against Tampa Bay. You know Carolina's not going to do anything. Saints are a big kind of question mark. Remember, everybody talked about the Saints as a Super Bowl contender. They're 3-5. And we thought Atlanta was going to be prolifically bad. What are they now? 4-4, leading the division. And here's the one thing about them. Half their wins are against playoff teams. They're starting to figure out how to use Kyle Pitts. And they're the only team. I'm a defense guy when you're talking about, winning a Super Bowl. But if you're talking about just making the playoffs, yes, just the playoffs. They can do something nobody else short of Seattle can do better in the NFC, and that is score points. They've scored 200 points through the first 8 games of the season. They can score. They give up a lot, but they're going to score. Atlanta is going to win the NFC South. Definitive statement number 4. One last one. Definitive statement number 5. I can definitively say that the Tennessee Titans might be good. It's the epitome of a non-definitive statement. Wins against the Colts, 2. The Raiders, Commanders, and Texans. I know they're 5-3, but how can I consider you good when you can't beat anybody? We've seen what the Colts are. They're using their third-string quarterback to start games. The Commanders are a 500 team at best when all is said and done. They have Tyler Heineke starting games at quarterback. And the Raiders and Texans, need I say any more? The Tennessee Titans might be good. That's the definitive statement I can make at 5-3. The Jets are frauds. Tennessee, I'm not sure, because they have an identity. They've got a quarterback that can win games. I know he didn't play this week, but they got a quarterback that can win games. And they've got arguably one of the best running backs on the planet in Derrick Henry. Over 200 yards again. You got a definitive statement for me? Give me a definitive NFL statement. You got one? Give it to me in this hour of the show. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show at the back page. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. The Bengals are driving. We told you to take them when it was 20.5 on the live betting line. We'll see if they wind up getting the touchdown that I told you they're going to get there at the end of the third quarter in Cleveland, with the Browns leading the Bengals 25-0. We're back with more of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. What did I say, Austin? What did I tell you? What did I say when it was 18-0 Cleveland and the live betting line was 20.5? What did I say? Tell everybody. Plus 20.5. I said take the Bengals plus 20.5 on the live betting line. Why? You just found out. Touchdown Bengals, Tyler Boyd. It's all, listen, you listen to this show, you make money. Live betting is where it's at when it becomes legal in your state. Yeah, it's fun to bet before the game and try to think you know what's going to happen. What's more profitable is trying to bet during the game and watching the trends, understanding the teams involved, and beating the bookmaker. That's the one place you can beat the book consistently is live betting. I can't say it enough. Bengals were getting 20.5 down 18-0. Even when Cleveland scored the touchdown, I said, run. Get it at 20.5. Because Cincinnati's going to pile up some garbage yardage. Inevitably. And Cleveland's going to get conservative offensively and just run the football. Now, granted, they might still be able to run it all the way down the field and score a touchdown because the Bengals have not proven they could stop Nick Chubb in this game. Frankly, nobody's really been able to prove they can stop Nick Chubb. Not just in this game, but period. Full stop. We're going to be joined by my man, somebody I love to talk to. Brandon Scoop Robinson will join us. Coming up in about 11 minutes on the program. Tons of thoughts on the NBA with him. He covers it for Bally Sport, their network around the country. They have regional networks. Brandon Scoop Robinson coming up about 10 minutes from now on the show. We'll get some thoughts with him on just a bevy of stories in the NBA right now. Way more stories than we are normally lucky enough to have to talk about because normally it's the NBA and you don't really care until Christmas. This year, that is not the case. So we'll keep tabs on the football game. It's now 25-6. Did they miss the extra point or did they go for two, Austin? What did I miss there? They missed the extra point. Wow. So 25-6, the 20.5 to the Bengals right now, you would be winning. We'll see what the Browns do. How conservative do they get with 14 and plus minutes to go in a 19-point game? They are the Browns, and they do have a little PTSD on blowing leads. We'll just say that. So it's got to be some nerves. By the way, can I just say this about the Browns before I get into the NBA tonight? They are. I love Jacoby Brissett. I know he's not going to be the starter once Deshaun Watson comes back, but I feel like Jacoby Brissett does not get enough credit for being a good quarterback in this league. He's athletic, and unlike some guys that I still don't believe can make big throws in big spots, Jacoby Brissett can. He's got a good arm. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He can move around in the pocket. He can feel the pocket. I'm telling you, he's the modern day version. He's this era's version of Charlie Batch to me. I think of Charlie Batch. I always thought Charlie Batch was a much better quarterback than he got credit for. Jacoby Brissett's going to be that kind of guy. He'll always have a job in the league because quarterbacks get hurt all the time. And he's that guy that you can plug in with any team. And he's going to be able to win you some games. Won some games in New England. Won some games in Indianapolis. Win you some games in Cleveland. They aren't losing games this year because of Jacoby Brissett. I got news for you. Again, not going to tear apart the world. But he's not going to lose games for you. He is that perfect sort of one-size-fits-all in this era of the NFL kind of quarterback. So we'll see and here we go. Cleveland with a big third down. And they got it. Tell you, they're just going to grind it out. They're just going to grind it out. Maybe they get another field goal and Cincinnati comes down the field and scores another touchdown. I'm just telling you, Cincinnati plus 20.5 when they were down 18-0. That was the bet. That's why I stopped everything I was doing in the show to tell you. 1-800-224-2004. The name of the show is The Cash In, so I'm going to give you those picks when I see them. I'll stop everything I'm doing to give you those picks. 800-224-2004. Again, on Twitter, if you feel so inclined, at the back page. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. In the NBA tonight, the Nets actually won a game. There we go. Yep, Brooklyn beat Indiana tonight, 116-109. They actually blew a 24-point lead in this game. It was tied at 100, and then Brooklyn was able to pull away late to get the win over Indiana. For Brooklyn, it was Kevin Durant with 36, Kyrie Irving with 28. The Kyrie story at this point just sickens me, to be honest. The lack of people speaking out around the league, to me, is disgusting. Kevin Durant's silence and, continuance to just blame the media and try to turn the story on everybody else. Kyrie not taking any responsibility. It all just sickens me at this point. The presser after the game the other night was disgusting. The way he tried to make Nick Friedel of ESPN look like the bad guy was disgusting. And you know what? Kyrie will never say he's wrong. But you know what shows he knows he was wrong? And maybe it was just because he was threatened with suspension. He deleted the Twitter post referencing the book that contains the anti-Semitism. But he still won't say he's wrong to everybody else. He's smarter than you. The flat earth guy, he's smarter than you. Yeah. 800-224-2004. Hey, have you tried out Jock MKT yet? They offer live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users, and you can do it all for real money. Instead of the stock market, try out the Jock market. Jock MKT, each share has a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states with plenty more to come for the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. Here's what you do. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com and deposit with the code CASHIN to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. Again, jockmkt.com, my promo code CASHIN on your first deposit with a match up to $100. Your first market will also be risk-free with losses refunded up to $100. JockMKT.com or the Jock MKT app, promo code CASHIN. One word, CASHIN, here on the Cash-In. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at me at the back page. Brandon Scoop Robinson on the NBA from Bally Sport. That's next on the Cash-In. Glad to have you with us tonight. Monday night football night. Browns lead the Bengals 25-6. More to come on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. All right, I got the interview on this end. Talk to you in a little bit. We continue on this Monday edition of the show. I can't recall being this early in the NBA season and having so many storylines that have really garnered so much attention. Normally, we don't start talking about we continue on this. Oh, boy. They score another friggin' touchdown? What the hell is going on in this game? Jesus. Still love Cleveland plus the points. Wow. 32-6. Who the hell saw that coming? Put your hand down. You're lying. We continue on this Monday edition of the show. I can't recall being this early in the NBA season and having so many storylines that have really garnered so much attention. Normally, we don't start talking about unless you're a diehard or a guy like our next guest, you don't really start talking about the NBA until we get to, Christmas. That's what everybody says, start the season at Christmas. But this season just seems like it's sort of bucking that trend with so many storylines that really have garnered so much attention. I'm glad to bring in tonight our good friend Brandon Scoop Robinson, NBA analyst over at Bally Sport, who joins us on the Cash In SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. Scoop, let's start on my coast with the Lakers. They finally get their first win last night, knock off the Nuggets. Temporary reprieve of sorts, or does this settle this group down and they suddenly start finding some perimeter shooting that hasn't really existed over the first couple of weeks of the season?
Yeah, I think shooting has been their Achilles heel, but I also do think that when you look at the Lakers overall, it's about knowing what roles people fill and how you utilize those appropriately. I think when you look at the Lakers, you know what Anthony Davis and LeBron James can do. And I think when you look at Russell Westbrook, you know what he can do too. How do you infuse that? You have a starting five, and then you have the second unit that comes in and really leads the charge in the same way. And I think that there is really a balanced attack in that regard. So I like what they've done. I hope that the Lakers continue their winning ways. I think they have about 4 straight home games between now and Sunday, and then they go to Utah. And so, they started off playing against a very red-hot New Orleans Pelicans team. So I do think that the Lakers have some ways in which they need to kind of level up. And I think some of those level up ways, like you mentioned, is defense, shooting, but also just continuity and chemistry. I'm glad that Darvin Ham got his first win as head coach, but there's a lot of work to still do. And it's still early in the season on your coast.
I floated this idea past another colleague of yours last week. Might have been last week on the show. Could it get so bad in L.A.? If it got so bad, where, they're looking at the lottery and no shot to even make the playoffs. If it got really bad, could you ever envision a scenario where LeBron says, you know what, just trade me? Because aside from his business interests and hanging around until he can play with Bronny, Why would LeBron want to stay in such a negative situation and waste years where he still has value?
Bring up a valid point. I'm not sure. I think that when you look at LeBron and you look at what he's done in LA, he doesn't owe them anything else. He brought them a championship, whether you want to criticize it was the bubble championship or not. It's a championship 20, 30 years from now. Our kids and our kids' are going to just see that it was a championship. So you look at it in that vein, yes. But also when I look at the Lakers at large, I still think that next season is really where they're going to look or next off season, this coming off season is where things get interesting because there are some key free agents that they're looking at. So I think this. I don't know if this doubles as a down year, a learning year, or a fifth or sixth seeded playoff situation. But I think I think it was interesting to see how he kind of played it out last season, inched in on Karl Malone, past Karl Malone, and now he's going in on Kareem, so on his record. So I think in this situation with the Lakers and LeBron, I'm not sure that he's willing to ask for a trade, but I do think next summer is crunch time because I think when you look at the Lakers and you look at his contract situation, he's got one more year, and then his son is trying to come in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward.
Brandon Scoop Robinson, our guest NBA analyst over at Bally Sport, here on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. The Joshua Primo situation in San Antonio, I didn't talk about it last Friday when it broke because none of it made sense at the time. They released this kid that they drafted in the first round of 2021. I think he was like the 12th pick or something like that. He's obviously talented. Then the other shoe drops over the weekend where he allegedly exposed himself to a female employee on the Spurs. It sounds like despite that, other teams are interested in him. Are they just going to wait and see how the legal aspect of this plays out? What do you know?
I'm not sure. I wasn't my beat, wasn't my story. But I know that ultimately he can score. He just can't score his tail off. But I think that it's one of those things that that I'm watching, just like you're watching. But I think that in this situation, the thing that I think this shadows is how well the Spurs are doing this season. Greg Popovich is kicking butt as the head coach and their supporting cast in a world where everybody's paying attention to the Clippers, the Lakers, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Bucks, and a myriad of other teams. The Spurs are still playing great basketball, and I want to give credit where credit is due for that reason.
It just goes to show you, though, when you think about this Primo situation, and just to kind of expand the lens and stretch it out a bit. You think about things like the NFL Draft Combine, where they put these guys through the rigors and all these mental tests, and let's talk to them about this part of their life and that part of their life. You look at guys like Deshaun Watson and what he's gone through. Now Joshua Primo. You can talk to these guys till you're blue in the face. There's just some things you can't know.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind. I plan to talk about this in the next hour anyway, but it's one of those things where, they have all these combines and everything. And what do you really know at the end of the day? There's just certain character traits in these guys that you could sit there and do all the testing you want, and you just can't figure some of it out. I think it's kind of fascinating, in this day and age where teams try to get so much information, so much data, and you know what? They had no idea this guy, allegedly was a bad egg.
Yeah, it's trial and error. That's the draft process. That's the analysis process, and I think ultimately, when you look at just the process of looking at the next pick and who you're going to the next hot pick, like it's really a gamble. I think it's going to be interesting when the next NBA collective bargaining agreement takes place, whether they're going to eradicate one and done, or are they going to let high school folks come in and play? And I think it's interesting because I think when they were doing that a couple decades ago, they didn't have YouTube and as much video and international clips as they have now. And in between then and now, you've seen what the Sacramento Kings have done, and the work they've done in bringing in guys like Peja Stojakovic. You've seen what the Mavs have done and getting Dirks of the world, and what the Spurs have done and getting, the Manu Ginobili's, the Tony Parkers, and more. So I think in this day and age, these guys are so. I think LeBron was the catalyst for the next. And then, even with LeBron, there was no YouTube then, but you knew who LeBron was, and he was selling out stadiums and things of that sort. So I think now, when you look at this next wave with the collective bargaining agreement, I think analytics and so many more people are more keenly aware of who guys are, what they could be. A perfect example of that is like Luka Doncic, who was a pro at like 15, 16 years old.
Reading all about the points being scored thus far this season, 115 points per game on average in the NBA. No more take fouls, I think would be one reason. What else is causing the explosion in points? Is it just teams not playing defense for the first 42 minutes of a game and then sort of hunkering down late?
It's a good analysis. I think it's a combination of 3-point shooting too. I think the Golden State Warriors, 2015 and beyond, have just been immaculate in their approach, but everybody tried to play like them. And the big man was evolving. I think Amari Stoudemire was that stopgap. And when he was drafted into what we see now in guys, not comparing, but in guys like Amari Stoudemire, where, excuse me, let me take a step back. Amari Stoudemire was the stopgap in what you see in guys like DeAndre Ayton, pardon me. When you look at DeAndre Ayton and what he does, I think that he's a throwback to so many other players. And I feel like the big man position has made folks that play that position stretch out their range. I think another guy like Zajunas Ilgauskas is another center who had, could face up 15, 16 foot, a little slower than today's big man. Today's big man is hybrid. They have guard speed with shooting range. And I think that the scoring has evolved in that regard because of the Warriors, because of center play. And I think the other notion is probably positionless basketball overall. Like LeBron James or Kevin Durant are small forward, power forwards. In their day, they were power forward centers, maybe. And I think the small forward, power forward, and center position are so interchangeable, as is the point guard and the shooting guard position. That scoring is just up because it's positionless basketball, and everybody plays defense differently.
Some people play it not at all, too. I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of score. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this league that, are strictly one end of the floor kind of guys, aren't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of them.
Talking with Brandon Scoop Robinson, NBA analyst over at Bally Sport, joins us here on the show. All right, I saved the best for last, the Nets. Start on the court. Team looks like it lacks motivation, no sense of urgency. Ben Simmons is a mess. I know he's not playing tonight. See people calling for Steve Nash's head. How much longer will Joe Tsai allow this thing to go before he pulls some kind of trigger and some sort of change?
I think it's still early. I think the Nets and the Lakers are in similar positions. They have players that other teams covet, and but ultimately the bright lights are on the Brooklyn Nets. They're in New York City. That comes with the territory. I also think that when you look at their scorers, scoring has never been an issue for them. KD and Kyrie are in the 30-point margins per game, but then when you take a look further down, you look at Nicholas Claxton, he averages 11 points a game. You look at Ben Simmons, who some people feel are not scoring. He's not scoring to his capacity, but I rebuff against that because I think he fills up the stat sheet in other ways. He leads the team in assists. He's a league leader, or he's a team leader, not the top leader, but one of the leaders in rebounds. It's just gelling. And I think he offers some things that are different for that team that they haven't seen in the first 3 years, and it takes time. Greatness is a process. I'm not calling them great, but I do think that they have three guys that are multiple-time All-Stars and know what they need to do. And I think even if, for many people who feel like Steve Nash should be fired, I think what's the replacement? Like, Jacques Vaughn is one of the highest-paid assistant coaches in the NBA. And to his credit, though, when I look at Jacques Vaughn, right before we went into quarantine, I think he had like a 2-0 or 3-0 record guiding the Nets. And of course, this was pre-Nash and right after I think they got rid of former head coach Kenny Atkinson. But I really do think that the Nets, it's trial and error, and it's early. I give it 15 to 20 games before we start making assessments, because when you look at the standings, like for example, and I'll sag off at this point, but the Washington Wizards, for example, were a top 3 team in the NBA at the beginning of the season and didn't make it the playoffs or the play-in. So it's very early.
Let me get you out with one on Kyrie. I got about 90 seconds here. Feels like it's always something at this point. He's never at fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's the media. Can the Nets win with him at this point? And do they just sort of let it go as long as they're winning games? What do they do?
Winning cures all. And I say a lot about Kyrie, and sometimes I get in trouble on Twitter, so I'm going to reserve comment too much. But I do think that ultimately,
don't start now. Come on.
Ultimately, I do think I think the Nets need to clean some things up, and I think defensively is where their issue is. To me, Kai strikes me as the type of person who was very social in school, the epitome of someone who was social in school, got good grades, but kind of could slack off when he wanted to also. And, that superfluous activity bothers people. And I think when you get into people talking about hate speech, that's a very serious matter. And in order to eradicate racism and misunderstanding, we need to have conversations. And those conversations and lack of understanding is just not. It's a lot going on in this world right now. And I wish the Nets the best, and I hope that they figure it out in the win column for the borough of Brooklyn. Brandon
Scoop Robinson. You know it. He's in the belly of the beast in New York there. NBA analyst, Bally Sport. Always appreciate it, my friend. I'm glad we got to catch up.
Thank you, sir.
Let's wrap up the hour next. Told you, Austin. I told you. This game will not wind up anything more than 19. Da 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 da. We just give winners on this show. Live betting winners every night on the Cash In. We told you at 18-0, take the Bengals. Cincinnati trailing the Browns 32-13. We said take the Bengals when they were up when they were down 18-0, getting 20.5. The score is now 32-13. Cleveland get the football back again. What is going on in this game? This should have been an easy win at 20.5 on the live betting. Now instead we got to sweat it out. Cleveland 32, the Bengals 13. Another very unlikely outcome on a primetime game in the NFL this season. You know where there wasn't an unlikely outcome in a primetime game? Last night, Buffalo beating Green Bay. It was worse than the score said. We're back with another hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. How'd they get the football back again, Austin? Bleeding Christ. They're going to get a field goal. Yeah, they're going to run. No field goal, going to run out the clock. 20.5. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The sweat is over. At least I think it is. Cleveland leads the Bengals 32-13 late fourth quarter. Cleveland has the football. They're basically running out the clock. Well, when it was 18-0, very early in the fourth quarter, I made a proclamation on this show. I said, take the Bengals plus 20.5. It was 18-0 Browns. Cleveland was knocking on the doorstep of a touchdown. They went up 25-0. Still told you, take the 20.5, which was there briefly. And what happened? Bengals wind up losing the game 32-13. And that's it. You'd be a winner. That's what we do on the show. We give you at least one good live betting winner. It feels like almost every night on the show. We missed one last week. But aside from that, we're pretty much spot on with our live betting game of the night. That's all I can do. I can only lead the horse to water. I can't make you drink it. As we continue with the program tonight, second hour of the show on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app, we'll get into the rest of Week 8 around the league. We'll also have post-game sound. This game feels like it ended really early tonight. Most NFL games take like 3.5 hours. This just didn't. So we'll have some post-game audio when the guys hit the podium tonight. NFL trade deadline. Who stays, who goes? Today, tonight, and tomorrow, and that's it. And there's a lot of teams that have to make some very difficult decisions. We'll get into that. We'll also keep tabs on the NBA. Maybe we'll do an NBA live betting game of the night as well. Clippers and Rockets are late in the first quarter in L.A. at Crypto. 30-23 Clippers on top of the Rockets. Jazz about to finish off the Grizzlies. Man, the Jazz, somebody didn't get the memo to the Jazz and Spurs. You guys are supposed to stink this year, and neither of them do. We'll talk about DJ Moore, the epitome of the professional athlete in 2022. We'll get to that as well. Christian McCaffrey talk and a whole bunch more. The Cowboys remain a Super Bowl threat. We'll get to that next on SportsMap Radio. All right. Hey, just a heads up. For the podcast, definitely the opening segment of the show, not the 3-minute one, but the first segment where I did my definitive statements on the NFL. Start it with my definitive statements, obviously not any of the dated stuff. Then the Brandon Scoop Robinson interview, and then there'll probably one more segment during the show. I'll let you know. Thanks. It's a good win for your Brownies. Wonder if they deal Kareem Hunt or not. Yeah, tonight or tomorrow. It's the move. That's the move I want to see if they make. We roll along on this Monday edition of the show, a Halloween edition of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio and the SportsMap Radio app. There's only one game remaining in the NBA if we're going to do live betting tonight. Got to keep an eye on the Clippers and Rockets. I'll tell you if anything sort of comes to mind. We're 1 for 1 tonight. We told you to take the Browns plus the 20.5 when they were down 18-0. And, of course, that wound up being a winner because they lost 32-13. I said take the Bengals, sorry. I said take the Bengals plus 20.5 when they were down 18-0. They fall to the Browns 32-13. What a night for Jacoby Brissett. And it looked like he got banged up during this game, too. 17 of 22 passing, 278 yards, threw for a touchdown, ran for another. Amari Cooper, 5 for 131 and a touchdown. And when Amari Cooper's head is screwed on straight, I have said this forever. I watched him basically mail it in with the Raiders when they were in Oakland, and it was the most frustrating thing to watch because you knew the potential was there. It's always been there. He could be a top-flight receiver in this league. But the reality is, sometimes it's just the effort, the want, it's just not there. And tonight, it was certainly there. 7 targets, 5 catches, 131, and a touchdown. What'll be interesting to watch over the next several hours, is what the Browns do regarding Kareem Hunt. We'll do a full trade deadline segment coming up later in the hour. But Cleveland at the deadline is going to be interesting because Hunt wants out, and at 3-5 in that division, and given the sort of where we are in terms of the wild card chases, and you got 9 games left, what are you doing if you're Cleveland? Are you dealing Kareem Hunt at the deadline? Tonight he had 11 catches, 42 yards. 11 rushes for 42 yards. 4 catches for 30 yards. Nick Chubb just continues to be the story, though. 23 for 101. Already now with 10 touchdowns on the season. I mean, he's killing it. He really is. He's just a must-have every week if you're talking about fantasy football. And he's a must-have if you're this Browns team that's just trying to hold it together until Deshaun Watson gets back. In another month? Can they hold it together that long until Deshaun Watson comes back? What's their record going to be by the time we get to the return of Deshaun Watson against Houston in whatever it is, week 12, week 13, whatever it is? because I'm sure they have a bye somewhere in there. No buys. Oh, they're on a bye. They're on a bye after this week. So there you go. Next week they're on the bye. So it'll be week 13 when they have Watson back in Houston against the Texans, which will be very interesting. What do you do? Hey, see, here's what's interesting. You're at the Dolphins next. And that's a tough spot for Cleveland. Then you're at the Bills. So, your season could already effectively be done by the time Watson gets back. Because then you're home for Tampa Bay. Who knows what the Buccaneers look like at that point. And then you're at Houston. And then you finish with the Bengals, Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Steelers. It's a bear, man. You cannot, you can't dig yourself a hole like they have at 3-5 and expect to be able to get through it. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. The Cowboys were a winner again this weekend. 49-29 for Dallas. They are 6-2. They handled the Bears. It was probably more interesting than a lot of people thought it was going to be. The line scared the hell out of me. I think it was 10 or 10.5. I said I wouldn't touch it. And for exactly the reasons you saw in that game is why I didn't touch it. I didn't feel like having a heart attack. And at 28-23 with a 2-point conversion try coming up and a chance to make it 28-25, you would have been sweating your you-know-what off if you had taken Dallas minus the points. Now, granted, they wound up covering, but it's not a game. It just was not a game for the squeamish, and I tend to get a little squeamish. I didn't touch it. I thought the Cowboys would win. I wasn't sure by how much. And I also thought the game was going to go under. It was one of Paige's picks, and who knew it was going to be over by halftime. 45 points in this game by halftime. How does that happen? And now there's the question of Pollard versus Elliott. Now, what do we do with Tony Pollard when Ezekiel Elliott is healthy enough to play? And look, I say this all the time. If you don't look at their salaries, if you don't look at the money owed to Ezekiel Elliott, the decision is easy. And this is the difference between good football teams and football teams that leave you scratching your head. I'm not saying the Cowboys shouldn't have Ezekiel Elliott on the field. But if anybody has watched Tony Pollard this season, they would say he has been the more effective back. And you know what makes him more effective? He can be on the field. 14 for 131 and 3 scores. Again, if I plopped you down and you didn't know anything about either of these guys and just watch the film, and I'm saying you didn't know how much money they made, Tony Pollard is the starting running back when Ezekiel Elliott comes back. No questions asked. But the Cowboys got to ride with Elliott because, man, Jerry Jones be writing those checks. Can't be writing checks for a guy that isn't playing. You see the Colts? You know how much money the Colts are paying Matt Ryan? And he's holding a clipboard. He's not even the backup quarterback. He's holding the clipboard. Nick Foles is the backup. The organization decided, hey, if we're going to win, this is the route we have to go. They weren't phoning it in. They weren't canceling the season. They didn't care how much Matt Ryan made. And we've seen teams throughout the history of the game that were willing to bench star players who made a lot of money. The Cowboys aren't going to do that. They should. I'm not saying bench Ezekiel Elliott. But they should be willing to sort of sit down with him and say, look, you're going to have to split the reps with this guy, and sometimes he might get more carries, and sometimes you might get more carries. We're riding the hot hand. It's about winning a Super Bowl. And this Dallas team is good enough to win a Super Bowl. And if it's not good enough to win one, it sure as hell is good enough to potentially get to one. Because of how ass backwards the NFC is right now. 6-2. Tied for the second best record in the NFC East with the New York Giants, who lost in Seattle yesterday, and Dallas owns the tiebreaker against the Giants. If you ask me at 6-2, which 6-2 is better? It's Dallas that's better than the Giants. What do you think? Pollard, Elliott, both? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You could tweet at the show at the back page if you got any other Week 8 thoughts from anywhere in America. All of a sudden, by the way, Christian McCaffrey, who couldn't stay on the field in Charlotte for the last 2 years with the Panthers in Carolina, all of a sudden he looks like CMC again. He's no longer Christian McCaffrey. He's back to being CMC. Threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown, ran a touchdown. I mean, that guy, man, what a special talent. If they could just keep him healthy and on the field. And we said it. Last week's an aberration because it's his first game back. It's his first game with the team. Got to get acclimated to the offense. This week, you heard Jimmy Garoppolo say he doesn't even ask about the plays in the huddle. He knows the plays already. The guy's been there for 5 minutes. I can't even tell you what we started talking about to start the show tonight. This guy already knows the 49ers playbook. Now, I get it. There isn't that much that is dissimilar from team to team to team. They're all running a lot of the versions of the same thing. But for this guy to walk in there basically 9 days or 10 days after a trade and put up that kind of performance against last year's Super Bowl winner, I mean, it's got to turn heads. Threw one, ran one, caught one. Looks like Christian McCaffrey again. And look at the numbers for Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday. I don't hear any 49er fans complaining about him today. And here's the kick. Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker when it comes to the 49ers. They're about to get healthy. They got a bye week, and then they've got something like 11 guys that are going to be back for the next game, including Deebo Samuel. San Francisco's dangerous. I'm telling you, San Francisco, they're going to be, potentially wild card teams. But San Francisco and Dallas, I would not be shocked if either of those two teams are in the Super Bowl. I will keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. I'm not saying either of them win it, but damn, just get there. Take your chances. In a wide open NFC, why not? 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Feel free to tweet at the show at the back page. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. I got to get into a point on the Rams in Los Angeles. It's just becoming a big waste of time. I want to get into that. We'll keep an eye on the NBA live betting tonight. And what do we really learn from combines in the NBA and NFL? I'll explain why I'm talking about that too. More to do on the Cash In. I'm Jason Page at SportsMap Radio. Wow. How cool. We continue on this Monday edition of the show.
What do you think's the biggest threat to mankind?
Give me... We continue on this Monday edition of the show. Just informed, Lucas Giolito of the Chicago White Sox will be on the show this week. One of their stud pitchers. Had a rough year this year, but Lucas Giolito will be on the show. Work on that, see what day we're going to get him this week. Talk about the World Series. He obviously knows plenty about the Houston Astros. He sees them every season, so we'll get some thoughts with him on this World Series and the direction of the Chicago White Sox now that Tony La Russa is out as the manager of that team. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show, at the back page. Again, hit me up on Twitter, at the back page. If you missed it tonight, an impressive Cleveland Browns victory in Monday Night Football. We're keeping an eye on post-game, and we'll let you know if there's any interesting post-game sound to get to as we go through the evening. By the way, we mentioned the numbers on some of the guys for Cleveland. Joe Burrow tonight, 25 of 35, 232, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. A lot of that yardage and the 2 touchdowns came essentially with the game well out of hand. So you can make from it what you want. And look, after 2 straight games where it looked like they were starting to put it together offensively, you watch them tonight and you're just left scratching your head. And I know the Jamar Chase, the loss of Jamar Chase, certainly had a great deal to do with the problems for the Bengals in this game, but you got to do better than that. There's just no getting around it. And again, we'll see what the Bengals have to say in the post game. We'll keep our eyes on it and see if anything interesting comes from it. But certainly a disappointing loss for Cincinnati, which continues to sort of scuffle. And we talked about it before. You look at the standings around the AFC right now, much like the NFC, where you've got a few teams that are excelling. Obviously, Buffalo and Kansas City being those teams. Tennessee at 5-2, the jury is still out. Baltimore could easily be 8-0 right now, if not for blowing some leads in the fourth quarter. In fact, all 3 losses they blew in the fourth quarter, they're 5-3. And Indianapolis yesterday lost a tough game against Washington, so they're 3-4-1. The AFC North is still that division that feels like it's wide open. I know Kansas City is 5-2 and the Chargers are 4-3, but does anybody really expect the Chargers to wind up better at the end of a 17-game season than Kansas City? I don't think anybody does. Put your hand down, you're lying. Tennessee, 2 games clear of the Colts right now, and then everybody else is well off the pace. And again, the AFC North is really the only thing that feels like it's in question at this point. I know Buffalo's 6-1, the 1 loss is to Miami, who's 5-3. But again, if I gave you truth serum and said, tell me, do you think Miami catches Buffalo? You know the answer. I know the answer. We all know the answer. Can I get off on a little tangent here for a second? Of course I can. It's my show. It's a rhetorical question. I have no earthly idea at this point what the Rams are doing in Los Angeles. And this sounds crazy when you're talking about a team that won a Super Bowl. George Kittle, after the 49ers finished dispatching of the Los Angeles Rams, when that game was over, he called it San Francisco South, and he's 100% right. It was that way in the postseason last year. It's that way virtually every week in Los Angeles for a home game. I mean, there is no bigger joke in all of pro sports than the Los Angeles Rams when it comes to home field. It's a giant waste of time. It's almost as if they play 17 games on the road. Because Los Angeles Rams fans, they aren't traveling to see them play in Miami or Buffalo or Chicago or any of these other places. Hell no, we ain't going to those cold places. We're staying home. But when Buffalo plays in Los Angeles, there's a ton of people there. When anybody plays in Los Angeles, there's a ton of people there. And it's not because Los Angeles is some epic city to go and visit. It's not a fun city the way Vegas is. Or if you're going to Miami. Or if you go to New York. It's not like any of those places. Or even Chicago. But here's the reality. The NFL, with Stan Kroenke, they pulled this team away from a fan base in St. Louis that truly cherished it. St. Louis sports fans are as loyal as they get. Not only was the team loved, it was successful. It's not like taking Oakland out of the Bay Area where, they haven't won a World Series since the late 80s. It's not like we're saying take the team out of a place like Oakland and put it in Vegas or Portland or wherever the hell they're going to put the Oakland A's when they eventually leave the Bay Area. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a team in St. Louis that was loved and was successful. And you put them in a city that could care less about their existence to the point that they basically play 12 road games per season. This is idiotic at this point. And I know players won't say it and we tell them not to say it. But players won't say it because they don't want to get booed by the fans for banging on the fans for the fact that the fans don't come. But I don't even know if you're banging on the fans is a bad thing because they're not there anyway. It really stuck out to me yesterday. When the 49ers went to go kick an extra point, it was probably in the fourth quarter after one of their several touchdowns in this game. And all you saw was a sea of red, whatever color the 49ers is. That's all you saw. And that to me is a disgrace when you're talking about the city of, look, it's there to a lesser degree, but it's still there with the Chargers, who fans are just kind of meh about. And again, who you took away from a fan base that loved them. I could not get over it yesterday. I wrote it down in my notes. I said, I got to talk about this. Because this is a disgrace. The NFL, you expect to go on the road and have to play a tough environment. That was like playing a home game for San Francisco. Give me a break. How about Jock Market? Let's switch topics. You haven't checked it out yet? What are you waiting for? Jock Market. They offer live daily markets for sports that let you buy and sell shares of athletes in real time with other users. It's called Jock MKT. But like stock market, it's like the Jock Market. Instead of buying shares in Intel or Apple or Meta or Twitter, Is Twitter still a stock? Jock MKT offers live daily markets for sports. Bid on shares before the games in the IPO phase. Trade shares live while the games are happening. All shares have a guaranteed payout at the end of the night. They're currently live in 36 states, probably in yours, with more to come. NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and NASCAR. You can get stock in all your favorite players. Head over to the Jock MKT app or go to jockmkt.com. Deposit code CASHIN, one word, CASHIN, CASHIN, and receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100 on your first deposit. Your first market will also be risk-free, with losses refunded up to $100. That's jockmkt.com, and use my promo code CASHIN, 100% deposit match up to $100, or just do it on the Jock MKT app. We're back with more of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Stay with us.
I wouldn't go that far. I think we had a great drive to start the game, and they had a tip on a pick. We were moving the ball really well, and then we just had 2 3-and-outs. You know, we had a big drop on one that would have kept us moving. So we had a great opportunity there, and just didn't get into the rhythm with those 2 3-and-outs, and just didn't allow us to do anything. You know, a couple 2-yard gains on first and 10, and then second and 8. Just stuff. I think we just didn't do a great job finding our rhythm early on, and it's as simple as that. Them on the first drive, excellent. You know, and we had a wide open hitch route, and he just throws his hand up and gets the ball.
I'm gonna do some post game on the other side of this, just so you know.
Made a good play there, and so I thought we had a great rhythm on the first drive, and if he gets it, and so just not good enough. First, they score 7. So So there's 10-0. We go 3 and out, then they score again, 17 points.
You okay, Austin? It sounded like you went to tell me the mic was on and you were choking or something. You all right? All right, I'm just checking. Oh, man. It's Halloween, man. Weird stuff's going to happen. The cash-in continues on this Halloween night. after a brutal loss for the Bengals. I mean, they just got their doors blown off. Forget what the score said. It wasn't even that close. We keep an eye on the live betting every night. We gave you a live betting winner in the Bengals-Browns matchup. We told you to take the Bengals when they were getting 20.5 and trailed 18-0 in this game early in the fourth quarter. And as you can see, they covered by the 32-13 final. So we nailed that one. Interesting game going on right now at the half. I wouldn't touch it because I don't trust the Rockets. But I say it all the time. Teams don't know they suck early in the year. And some of the better teams in the league right now are struggling to sort of find their rhythm early in the season. And the Clippers are one of those teams. Only because the Lakers only have one win are the Clippers keeping some of the heat off of them because they have been bad in the early going. And tonight, they're actually trailing at home in LA to the Rockets 52-51 at the half. We'll keep an eye on that. The Nets actually got a win tonight, though, so that takes a little bit of the pressure off them for one night. All right, as promised, post-game sound on the Monday Night Football game. I'm always more interested to hear from the losing coach because that's where it tends to have more news made. Zach Taylor is the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, meeting with the media as we speak.
10-0, we go 3 and out, and they score again. 17 points. Offense has 3 plays, 3 bad plays, 3 and out, and they go 17 points. And really, that's where the game's 25-0 before you even know it. And so, just not good enough in any of the phases there. Obviously, the tipped ball on the first possession on offense set us back there. We were having a good drive, good rhythm. Miles Garrett did a nice job getting his hand on the ball, and they tipped it. So we just did a great job overcoming that on offense early, getting points on the board, giving our defense some help, because I thought in the first half they played well. They really did. And we just didn't get enough help on offense. In the second half, we just didn't hold up as a team.
Any update on Louisiana?
I don't think it's great, Cindy. I don't think it's great, but we don't have final confirmation yet.
How deflating was that for the defense? Was that hard to see him kind of go in right at the half?
Yeah, it's tough because Cheeto is a guy, he's one of the hardest workers on our team, one of the most focused guys, great man of character, does everything right, does everything to lift up his teammates, does everything to prepare himself. He's all about the team. He puts his heart and soul into this thing, and so to see a guy like that get hit like that is tough.
Why did the passing game struggle? Your biggest reasons?
I wouldn't go that far. I think we had a great drive to start the game, and they had a tip on a pick. We were moving the ball really well, and then we just had 2 3-and-outs. You know, we had a big drop on one that would have kept us moving. So we had a great opportunity there, and just didn't get into the rhythm with those 2 3-and-outs, and just didn't allow us to do anything. You know, a couple 2-yard gains on 1st and 10, and then you're in 2nd and 8, and just stuff.
Was there anything you were doing that maybe prevented y'all from being as explosive?
No, I think we just didn't do a great job finding our rhythm early on, and it's as simple as that. Because I thought we had great rhythm on the first drive, excellent, you know, and we had a wide open hitch route, and he just throws his hand up and tips the ball, and we had what we wanted, and they just made a good play there. And so I thought we had a great rhythm on the first drive, and maybe if you get some points there, you get some momentum, and things are a little bit different because our defense did a nice job in the first half, but just didn't get it done.
Is there anything maybe that prevents y'all from finding that rhythm early on the next drive? Say that first drive doesn't go one, it's been big, but you know.
I think we had decent. I think the next drive was maybe a 6-play drive, and so again, just wasn't good enough to start.
Zach, when you look at the special teams kind of uncharacteristic performance from Evan McPherson tonight with the missed extra point and the field goal, I know you'll be able to watch the film and talk to Darren later, but from what you saw on the sideline, what do you think happened there?
I think we'll just have to see it to be sure.
What was so tough about just Miles Garrett and the pass rush? I mean, what made them so difficult to stop tonight?
Well, I thought really in the first half we did a nice job. He got us one time on a 3rd down. I thought we had a good plan. I thought our guys executed really well. You know, the worst thing you want to do against the Cleveland Browns is give them a 2-3 score lead and let their running game get going, their play actions, and let their pass rushers tee off. That's the recipe for disaster, and unfortunately that's what we gave to them.
Zach, you're on a short week, obviously. What is your message to the team, either after the game or what will it be going?
Yeah, it's easy to see what this one comes down to. Like I mentioned, you know, the first question of where that segment in the game got away from us. This isn't the type of team we are. You know, it's a 17-game season, and this is one game that we weren't at our best today. in any phase. And I'm confident that's not who we are, that we can make the corrections and flush this one away quickly, turn our attention to Carolina on a 6-day week, and have a great opportunity to get this out of our system real quick and play well next Sunday.
Look, Carolina is no pushover. They have shown that now over the last couple of weeks, despite the fact that they got rid of Christian McCaffrey. It's Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Their 2-game mini winning streak is snapped tonight in Cleveland against the Browns. 32-13 the final. And at 4-4, here's what the next 9 look like. We'll just take it 4 at a time here. As you heard him mention, they have the Panthers coming up this weekend on a short week. That game in Cincinnati. Then they're at the Steelers. Very winnable. That's a Sunday night football game. Yeeks. Why are you giving us? Why on earth would you give us the Steelers on Sunday night football? Egad. Then at the Titans on the 27th. And then home for the Chiefs. So, I mean, you look at 2 of the next 4 games are certainly winnable. But, I mean, would it shock anybody if we got to, the second weekend of December? This was a 6-6 football team kind of fighting for their playoff lives. Because at 6-6, they would finish with Cleveland, who we just watched dismantle them, at Tampa Bay. Who knows, again, what the Buccaneers are going to be at that point. At the Patriots, another kind of, interesting game when you consider what the Patriots have been this year. Home for the Bills and home for the Ravens to finish. I mean, they've got a tough road. I mean, if they're 6-6 through the first 12 games, well, they can't be 6-6 at that point. But they could be 7-6, and you got to finish with the Buccaneers, Patriots, Bills, and Ravens. I mean, you might be a 9-win team. And is that going to be? Is 9-8 going to be enough to get this team in the playoffs? Well, it might be in this season of the NFL. It might be enough. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like Joe Burrow is approaching the podium. Let's listen to what the Bengals quarterback has to say after a disappointing 32-13 loss to the Cleveland Browns.
Joe, how did that game get away from you?
Yeah, well, defense gets 2 turnovers there in the, I think, end of the first quarter, early second quarter, around the midfield mark, and, we don't really do anything with it. And first drive, we drive right down there, and, Miles makes a great play on an RPO and gets his hands up, knocks it down, and ends up falling right into him. And so that was really the start of a long day for us.
I know each game has a different story, but when you look at how these games have gone against the Browns the last couple of years, obviously I know they have good players, Chubb and Garrett, but why has this become such a difficult matchup for you guys?
Yeah, that's, you got to give credit to them. They always play well against us. It's tough to answer that one. They got really good players on defense. They're good on the outside. They're really well coached. They're sound in their leverages, in their coverage, and obviously they got Myles Garrett and Clowney that can get after the passer. So they've had our number the last couple of years.
When people will look at the final stat line with the sacks that you took today, I know some of it happens when you get down and it forces you to throw some more, but you're coming off some of the best weeks. You've said that you've seen the offensive line play. Are you still feeling as encouraged as you were?
Yeah, we'll have to watch the tape, but I got all the faith in the world in those guys to go out there and I thought they played well enough to win.
Did their defense do anything to take away the big explosive plays?
They did a great job, in their leverages and playing soft and making us check it down, and then they tackled really well. The last couple weeks we've got teams out of that because we were able to break some tackles and get yards after the catch, and you got to give them credit. They were great tacklers today.
Did they run a lot of the too high stuff?
Yeah, a lot of quarters, and they're playing one high. They're playing it from real high.
How much did you miss Jamar tonight in a game like this?
Yeah, anytime that guy goes down, it's going to be, it's going to have an effect. But we're a better offense than we put out there tonight, even without him, and so there's no excuses for that.
Sorry about that. Was there anything defensively that they were doing differently without Jamar that you got maybe weren't expecting, or would be seeing had Jamar on the field?
It's tough to say right now. I'll have to go back and watch the film, but like I said, they were playing their quarters and mixing up cloud to cover 3 of the quarters, so they did a good job mixing it up.
So there you go. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow. Not really a lot to say. The obvious question is, how much do you miss Jamar Chase? And it goes without saying, if you watched that game tonight, this was not the same Bengals offense without Jamar Chase in it. There's no getting around that. And you're talking 4 weeks without him. Bengals may not make the playoffs. And you just got to, and look, I'll tell you who it benefits is Cleveland. Definitely benefits a team like Cleveland to have Cincinnati in this sort of situation and missing some of their key players without question. Trade deadline, I said I'd get to it. Kareem Hunt, the very latest on it. Peter King of NBC Sports saying he doesn't think the Rams have interest in trading for him. Boy, do the Rams need help in the running game. Fox Sports' Ralph Vacchiano says the Eagles, the Eagles, who are already undefeated, are a team to watch potentially going after Hunt. They've already shipped out a mid-round pick to kind of fortify a Super Bowl caliber roster this season. Cleveland is shopping them, supposedly for a 4th-round pick or anything better than the compensatory 3rd-round pick they'd get for him if he leaves in free agency this offseason. And that's why they really don't have to take a deal that doesn't suit them, because they're going to get a 3rd-rounder for him anyway. Hunt wants a trade. We'll see if the Browns acquiesce or if they wind up hanging on to him. Well, if they hang on to him, it's just going to be very interesting to see. Jets and Dolphins reportedly interested in Bradley Chubb. We talked about it last week on the show with Nick Ferguson, our friend who does the Touchdown Denver podcast, former NFL safety, about whether or not the Broncos would deal Chubb. They got a win on Sunday morning against the Jaguars by the hair of their chinny chin chin, and it certainly probably dissuades them from making any sort of deal, as they probably are going to try and make a run at still trying to make the postseason, even though they're 3-5. They desperately needed that win though, and they got it. But Jets and Dolphins reportedly interested in Bradley Chubb. He is a game changer on the defensive side of the ball. So that's what's going on as far as the trade deadline is concerned. If anything breaks before we leave the air tonight, we will obviously keep you posted. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Is there a move you'd like to see your team make? 800-224-2004 on Twitter, at the back page, if you want to reach out to the show that way. We'll come back, wrap up this hour of the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Getting set to put the wraps on hour number 2. Coming up in the next hour, why do we even have things like the scouting combines in the NBA or NFL? I'll explain why I ask that question tonight on the show. If there were to be a poster boy of the professional athlete in 2022, might it be DJ Moore? We'll get to that. The World Series, well, gratification delayed for one of the teams. World Series Game 3 tied at a game apiece, and it was not played tonight in Philadelphia because of inclement weather. They will try to play it tomorrow night. We'll obviously have full coverage of it here on the Cash-In. With right now the outright betting to win the World Series, by the way, with the series knotted up at a game apiece. The latest numbers on it is Houston. Oh, sorry, my screen is refreshing. You will have to wait. It will come, I promise. Hopefully it comes before the music stops. Or it won't, and we'll just have to all sit here and think about it. Ponder the question. What do you think the odds are on the Astros to win the World Series right now? I'm running out of time. Here it is. Astros minus 126 on the money line tomorrow. The Phillies at plus 108. We're back with more of the Cash-In. Stay here. Freaking computer. Oh, dude. Every time I come in this kitchen, it's a mess. Yeah, I know. It's my fault. Oh, my. hour. Final hour of a Monday show. Thank you so much for being with us. Trying to hold it all together. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. If you want to tweet at the show, hit us up at the back page. Again, on Twitter, you can hit me up at any point throughout the show at the back page. If you missed it, 32-13, the Brownies take care of the Bengals tonight to improve to 3-5, with the Bengals dropping to 4-4 on the season, and a tough road to haul without Jamar Chase. And this was our first look at the team without Jamar Chase, and you saw the problems. I mean, the problems in the passing game were evident. And let me also say this. And I know I'm not breaking any ground here. Myles Garrett's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. I mean, he's got more sacks through whatever number of games he's played than I think there's only 4 guys that have had more sacks at this stage of their career than Myles Garrett. I mean, he's just a beast. And, you know, he's done a couple of things in his career that sometimes make you scratch your head. The throwing the helmet, the whole swinging the helmet thing with the Steelers' backup quarterback who allegedly said something to him that obviously set him off. I mean, you take those things and kind of put them aside, and you just talk about him from a pure on-the-field impact standpoint, and there are not many guys that have the impact on the game that Myles Garrett has. They did a cool feature on him tonight in the ESPN pregame about what a big fan he is of Stranger Things. How he wanted to dress up, how he dressed up as one of the villains from that show. I've never watched the show, so I don't know anything about it, but he seems to love it. All right, NFL Combine, NBA Combine. Why do we even bother anymore? I'll ask the question and I'll explain why next on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio.